Alright guys, so we're back and we're going to do the footer this time. So one thing that I forgot to mention on my on the last one was to add this class name here that I already had it in mind to add a class name to it. So I just went ahead and but I forgot to add it to the last part of the video. So just do it now. Add a class name and just name it like this, class is large, and then come over here to the styles right here, to the cons use style, make styles, and in the bottom of it, or whatever you want really, add this right here, large, width, and height. So once you do that and you save, you should be able to see your avatar is now a little bit bigger and it fills the header a little more. And that's just about everything that is left for the header. Okay, now we're gonna move on into the footer. So the footer is if you look at mine, for example, is I have in this one, since this is a portfolio, it's just as simple as just putting some bragging rights down here. So like, hey, I built this with Gatsby, React, Material UI, and GraphQL. So it's pretty, simple. Footers are used for a lot of different reasons. Some people like to put some contact information on there, some privacy policies and terms of use and things like that. But this is a resume project type of website, so some bragging rights make sense. So we're gonna do that. We're just gonna go pick up these SVGs. These are SVGs, and SVGs are way better than images. Don't use images unless you have to use images. Like for photos, obviously you want to use an image, and if you have to, also don't make it a PNG, make it a JPEG or a WebD or WebP, something like that file. Those are a lot lighter and a lot easier and better for SEO. But for things like this, always try to use vectors, SVGs, as much as possible. So how are we going to find this? So this website right here that I told you earlier, this is a great place to find a lot of all these brands and symbols already in SVG sectors and SVG vectors that you can use. So it's great. So let's go ahead and go over there. So pause the video if you have to and type this up, and you should land right here in the GraphQL, and we're gonna download them. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this one. So I'm gonna click here, and we're gonna SVG that, and then you're going to go to where your folder is. But before we get there, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Go to where your static images folder is. Create another folder inside of your images folder called avatars, and inside these avatars is where you're going to place this. So I just created a folder inside of my images called avatars. And inside my avatars, I created my GraphQL, and I just named it GraphQL, and I hit save. It's going to replace it just to make sure that I am up to par with you. So if I go there now, I should see GraphQL SVG. There is one right there. So you should have, something like this. This means absolutely nothing to you. You can't just see it like an image, but it'll render in the browser as an image, and it will be vectorized, and it will be real clear, real nice. All right, so the next one we're going to be using is, where am I here? It's going to be the Material, the React, sorry. So I'm going to go find React, come up here, React. And here it is, React icon. You're gonna click on that React icon, click on SVG, same place, put it right there, and save. The next one is going to be Material UI. I don't think they have this one, but I'll show you how you can get it. Let's see, Material. That is completely wrong. Material, come on. Alright, Material. So Material UI is not there. If I hit more, yeah, nothing. More, maybe? No, nah, nothing. I'll show you how to get there. Let's just first get the other one out of the way, which is, we did that one. Okay, we did GraphQL, and we did that one. So Gatsby is what we need. Alright, so let's put Gatsby. You gotta be quick at typing in this thing here. because this thing has an autocorrector, and if you pause to type, it automatically starts populating. Alright, so Gatsby, this one, SVG, we're gonna name it Gatsby JS icon, is fine. Save that. Okay, you're good. Alright, so now let's go find the material UI, and it's a trick on how to find it. So just go to their actual website and hit on material UI here, and then you'll see here this right here, right? So that's what that is, a vector image. So if you inspect it, you should see right here this got an SVG at the end of it. So if you right click that and open in a new tab, it'll give you the actual material UI icon. So just save as, call it material UI, and it's already saved as an SVG. It will save it in here as an SVG, so hit save, and there, now you have the SVG icon for them as well. So you can go ahead and close that, close this, go back to your documentation, so make sure you're there. Cool. So now that we have our files that we need here, let's close this, and close the header module, close the layout. Sure, close that. Alright, so now we're gonna need to build our footer, right? So so we're gonna do a couple of things on here. Is we're gonna go to the footer folder, close all this stuff here, footer, and then inside the footer folder we're gonna add also a footer module CSS, because we're gonna add some files eventually that are going to be related, some styling that is going to be related only to the footer. So we're gonna do it with the module way. And if you remember from the last video, we had to compile every time that we added anything to it, right? So I went ahead and I did a couple of files already, styling for you. So I'm not gonna go over all of this stuff here. This is simple CSS stuff. So just go ahead and, if you have to, pause the video to take a look at this. This is about all there is to it. So it's pretty simple. And then make sure you have the same thing and save it. So now that it's saved, my footer is there, and then I'm gonna go to my footer file and I'm gonna start creating my footer. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna import React from React. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import also footer styles. This is a name that I'm giving it, footer styles, from footer modules CSS, because I want to bring this style and sheet that I just created. Alright, and then now in here I am going to create my actual footer. So const footer, my props holder in there, my fat arrow function, and I'm gonna open my object and my return. Oops, wrong one. There you go. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to add what is called a paper in there. So what's a paper? It's nothing. Yeah, not right. It's nothing but just a div, a container that you can add properties to it, and that really is. I mean, you could technically just go with like div or something like that and call it a day, but a footer already, a paper comes with other stuff that you can take advantage of, like elevation. Means it comes with some shadowing and things like that, some shadows. So let's just look at it for a second. So if you go here into components and paper, if you look for paper, so you can see they have, paper is basically just a box, a container that you can put stuff in. You can have it as an outline, you can have it, you know, already filled in, and then you can put some elevations to it from 0 to I don't remember how many, and you can make them square, you can make them rounded. So it's got a bunch of different things that you can do. So if you want to know all the things that you can do to the paper, you can click on the API, and almost all components have an API. And then look into the API props here, and these are things that you can do to every component. So that you have different variants, elevation or outline. Okay, one is going to be outlined with the no elevation, and the other one is going to be filled in with some elevation to it. Square, if you wanted to be, if you wanted to have like some rounded corners or not, so that's going to be either true or false. If you put square, then it's going to be square, but if you leave square out, then it's going to automatically be rounded. The elevation, you're going to define which elevation number you want to add to it, like how much of a shadow you want it to have. The component type, normally it defaults to a div, but you can make a paper default into something else. So you could change this div into, I don't know, a span, for example, a span tag, and it will create a span tag instead of a div. I don't see why would anybody do that, but hey, whatever. Some classes that you want to add to it and show them that it would also take if you had to. Here are some rule names that you can use in your theme to compose better styles for these papers, right? So if you go to the MUI paper and then round it, then you'll be able to apply styles only to that paper that is when it's rounded, and it won't affect the square one. Make sense? We did this in the themes JS file that I explained earlier, so I don't have to go through that again. So we're gonna add a paper, and basically the best way to do it is by adding this right here, or adding it like this. I like to add things like this, not like this with this explicit like this, because as I said earlier, if I need to add more than one component, I'm gonna have to redo this line over and over and over, as opposed to like if I just bring the core, I can just add the components in here and it makes it a lot easier. So I'm gonna do it this way. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna add that, and now I'm gonna add my paper. So let's just pick one from here. Let's go back to the actual demo and pick the paper from there. We're gonna use one of these on the top. Don't worry about the make styles for now. And well, it's pretty simple, just paper. All right, so so how about this? We'll make one ourselves. So first thing I'm gonna add is a div. You gotta have a div to wrap your stuff inside, and that div, we're gonna add a class name to it that I already had created for you. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add it here, and you can investigate what that class does by going over here and looking at it, but it's basically gonna be root. And because it's coming from footer style, then that's what I'm going to use. So footer styles root. Again, that means that this class is only relevant to my footer, and that's it, because it's coming from a module. So it's pretty much, it doesn't exist for nobody else anywhere in the site. So I'm gonna close this, and I'm going to create my paper in there. Now my paper is also gonna have a class name, and that class name is going to be again footer styles dot footer. Again, you can investigate that in the CSS, and I do want this to not have rounded corners, so I'm going to do that to it. Now inside that paper, I'm going to start adding all my avatars. But guess what? If I put avatar here, although it's going to recognize that, hey, I know what an avatar is, it exists, it's still not going to compile correctly, because you need to, oh, well, look at that. It added it automatically. It may not have done that for you. I have the auto import extension, okay, and I think the auto import extension is a great extension, so you should actually add it if you wanted to, but this one right here, auto import. However, if you're learning, don't do it, because then you're gonna get in the bad habit of things being done for you. So, but if you're already comfortable with this, that you know that you're not gonna forget to add a component to an import statement for the component, then sure, go ahead and put the auto import. So all you have to do is just do something like this, for example, and it would automatically add it or not. I don't know why I didn't add it for the menu. It added it for the avatar. All right, well, never mind that. Maybe it's because it needs to be. That's weird. Well, it added it for the avatar. That's crazy. Alright, so no matter. Gonna go ahead and start putting in the avatar stuff. So the first thing that I'm gonna do with the avatar is the variant. I want this avatar actually to be square, not rounded. I know it looks like it's rounded, but that's just because these logos are kind of roundish, but they're not really. I don't want it to be. If you do it rounded, then you're gonna cut off this MI here, this material UI is gonna get cut off in the corners. So don't do that. What was I? Here. Yeah. So the variant is going to be square. Right. And then the alt for this one is going to be Gatsby. We're gonna start with Gatsby. Gatsby, there you go. And the SRC for this one is going to be images / avatar / Gatsby. I'm surprised that it hasn't given me a let me see. That's odd. All right, let's see. Where am I? On the images, I should have an avatar in this one. Oh, because I'm in this one. Okay. So images as bar. Okay. So relative path. I'm gonna add it myself. Static. Okay. I think until it compiles and it adds those avatars to the public folder, you'll probably still have issues like that. Alright, so I have that, and then the class name, and again you can always inspect what classes, what these classes are doing on your own. Footer styles small. Okay, so now that I have that, let's test it. Let's run that and go to our site here, and let's see. Let's make sure that this is working. We'll refresh it. Okay, nothing yet. Oh, you know what? Okay, so just like I said, everything you import is not going to be available if you don't export it, so you have to export it. Now it will be available. However, not quite yet. You still have to go to the actual layout where it's supposed to be rendering and then make it available to you from there by importing it. Import footers from footer, and then basically just down here underneath it, that's where you're going to display it. Alright, and now here it is. So here's the footer, but it's not showing their image because the path is wrong. So we have to figure out where the path is actually coming from. And let's see. There we go. So that's all you needed to do. Alright, so now that we know that we have that coming up, all we have to do is basically just copy that. 1, 2, 3, and add 3 more. Okay, so the next one is going to be React, and that one is going to come from React icon. There you go. The other one is going to be Material UI, and this one is going to be Material UI right there. and then the last one, which is GraphQL. And that's going to be GraphQL. Alright, hit save, and there they go. So it looks like it's jammed up here, right? And that's because you don't have enough content for it to start filling in. But once you just start putting content in there, this is going to end up dropping to the bottom, and it's going to remain in the bottom, and then the part in, and the part in the middle is basically going to be scrollable. So it's going to work a lot like this. Okay, my header is stays in place. Okay, and if you want that, which actually we probably should, just to kind of keep everything the same way, open your header file and go to your header. Okay, and then right here where the header is being position static, you're gonna put position fixed. And then now your header should be position fixed. As soon as you start putting information in there, you're gonna be able to see that it's not gonna move up and down. All right, and that's all we got for now. The footer was a pretty simple one, so we'll talk and we'll continue in the next one. See you.